Probably my number one client acquisition strategy, and it's actually focused primarily on Facebook groups, is just really forming genuine conversations and connections with people through Facebook groups. So, what you mentioned is so important, and something that I think is so important for new entrepreneurs is to try and keep expenses low and stay as lean as possible for as long as possible. Most health coaches aren't getting, venture capital to back them. Most of us are starting as solopreneurs and we're just working for ourselves and we're doing it because we're really passionate about it. And that really lends into the strategy of using and leveraging Facebook groups to grow and to find prospects, to find leads, and then to eventually close clients.
Welcome to another episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. I'm your host, Omar Cumberbatch of OmarCumberbatch.com. Thanks so much for joining me today. I have an amazing guest, and I just want to give this some context too, because I just realized I only released one episode last month, and I just got really caught up with one of my newest projects, and I was going to announce it today, and it's a good segue to today's awesome guest because, as you know, I'm over 200 episodes into this particular podcast. I've interviewed countless experts in this field who have really taught me so much about the business side of health coaching. I mean, I had Lori Kennedy, Andrea Beeman, you name it. Anyone who was a big name, Sean Croxton, Reed Davis, Yuri Elcom, all these big names have been on this particular podcast, and I've been learning so many interesting things from each one of them. And I'm putting this book together, so I'm pretty much wrapped up, and it's kind of been consuming. I kind of put the podcast a little bit to the side, just a drop. And one of the things that I was doing is trying to come up with different ideas, and I'm going to have a podcast specifically about the book. But this podcast today, I have a chapter that's dedicated to today's guest. And I know I'm bouncing around a bit because you guys aren't aware of what the book's actual premise is. So I'll give you a little bit of a preview, but I just want to jump into the show and get you going because I promise in the next month and a half, I'm going to be displaying a little bit more and dropping some gems on you regarding it. But every health coach needs to start out, right? And I do believe from all these guests that I've been working with is that there are phases or acts to get you to a certain point where you have a flourishing business. And the first thing that most people want are clients, right? So how do we get clients? And one of the strategies that I discuss in this particular book is one of which today's guest, Michael Krug, is an expert and master at it. And he is really, and I joke about it, that he infiltrates Facebook groups, right? And when I say infiltrate, he goes into Facebook groups and really just provides super value to whatever topic is on the table for that day, right? So he's going to describe it way better than I can ever describe it. And that's why I'm really excited to share his point of view. But his strategy alone has him making a sustainable business from scratch with no ad space, none of that stuff that you would think is required. And he's just making connections and getting clients just by providing value in these groups. So I can't wait for you to listen to Mike. He's a great friend of mine. He is someone who has been on the podcast before, and his strategy really works, and I'm really excited to share that. So more to come on the book. I'm probably gunning for an October launch. Also, by the way, I know I'm speaking a lot more in this intro than usual, but if anybody is in New York in August, hit me up. If you're from New York and you're a health coach, hit me up, Omar at OmarCumberbatch.com. I am going to be working with another featured guest in this book, and we're going to get a little meet and greet, maybe meet at a bar or a little venue in Manhattan or up in Westchester County, New York. We just haven't decided. We're really kind of just figuring out ultimately where our health coaches would be able to actually meet. Manhattan, maybe if you're flying in or doing something local, you might be in Manhattan somewhere, or if you're just from a local area up in where I live in Westchester County, we can do something there. And we're gonna meet up and just kind of hang out, right? So looking forward to that as well. So all those good things are on the horizon. So let's jump into the show. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Omar. Always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Uh,
It's been so much fun getting to know you over the years.
oh, yeah, and likewise, you are a true friend, and I appreciate all that you're doing, especially jumping on this particular podcast that is actually revolving around the book that I put out. And I'm really excited that you're going to be featured as one of the entrepreneurs who actually are out there doing great and helping entrepreneurs get to our first act, which is basically client acquisition, especially
Mhm.
from scratch. And you have such an interesting method that I honestly have heard about before, but I think that nobody can describe it as eloquently as you. So I said, let me get you on the show, talk about it, and really dive into just the strategy of getting clients through the various groups on various platforms and
Mhm.
really becoming someone who's deemed as an expert just because of those interactions that you do have. So I want to allow you to at least give the audience a little bit of introduction to you, give us a little bit about your background, story. And I know that fans of the show have heard you on the show before, but tell us all the new and good things that you're up to.
Yeah, well, thank you again so much for having me, Omar. And it's been a journey to say the least. It's been a lot of fun. So I kind of fell into health coaching. To give you the most brief form of my story, I was very, very unhealthy, 375 pounds, really high blood pressure, cholesterol, some mental health stuff going on. And then I kind of hit a breaking point and I changed my life. And then in 2015, when I finished undergrad in college, there was a picture posted of me on Facebook, which we're going to be talking about a lot today, uh, and
Mhm.
just showing that I had kind of transformed my health. So from there, a lot of people reached out to me. They were asking for support. They also wanted to do things like lose weight. And that's how I kind of got into it. So from there, I got certified by the Well Coaches Institute in 2017, and I've been coaching since then. Started as a side hustle for about 5 years. I did get, I'm a board certified health coach, and I got that in 2020. And then in January 2022, I was at the point where my side hustle, quote unquote, coaching was enough of, I was generating enough cash flow and profitable enough to go full time. And I've been doing it full time since. I absolutely love it. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but work that I'm inspired to do and that I wake up with a passion to do every single day. And I think, like you alluded to, there's a lot of different ways that we can go about being a health coach. There's different ways that we can work with clients, different ways we can monetize our services. But it all starts with, like you said, client acquisition. And if you don't have paying clients, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. That's something that I learned very quickly. And
Mhm.
thankfully, I've developed some strategies that have really worked well for me. Excuse me, and that I'm hoping can maybe help some others as well. So,
Yeah, no, and one of the beautiful things about the way that you do it is the cost, and I'm not gonna dive into it immediately because of course you're gonna explain it way more eloquently than I can, but I know that there's such a cost benefit of the way that you're operating because a lot of health coaches in the beginning are very, very concerned about not having those connections and not having the actual client base to draw off of to start getting paying clients. So, can you tell us a little bit about that strategy that you've stumbled upon and and
yes.
specifically, yeah, like how did that even happen?
Definitely, yeah. So my probably my number one client acquisition strategy, and it's actually focused primarily on Facebook groups, is just really forming genuine conversations and connections with people through Facebook groups. So what you mentioned is so important and something that I think is so important for new entrepreneurs is to try and keep expenses low and stay as lean as possible for as long as possible. Most health coaches aren't getting venture capital to back them. Most of us are starting as solopreneurs and we're just working for ourselves and we're doing it because we're really passionate about it. And that really lends into the strategy of using and leveraging Facebook groups to grow and to find prospects, to find leads, and then to eventually close clients. So, what I will do, just to dive right into the strategy that I use for specifically Facebook groups, is I will find Facebook groups where I think some of my ideal clients would be. Now, Me, when it comes to a niche, I kind of approach my own niche as I'm like a world-class expert in fat loss because it's something that I've done. I've helped, dozens, over 100 at this point of clients be able to achieve weight loss. So finding groups where people who you think would benefit from your services would be hanging out. I think Facebook and Meta in general, but Facebook particularly, they have definitely prioritized groups. So if you go onto Facebook and you're a part of different groups, usually those posts within groups will be pushed towards the top of your feed. They've actually come out, Meta has come out and say that they're going to continue to really push groups more and more than just the standard feed. So there's still benefits to making individual posts on your profile, and you'll still see some of those. But, if you were to open your Facebook app right now while you're listening to this and look at what pops up first, there's a good chance that it's going to be someone's post within a group. So what you would do, you go into Facebook groups, and there's different layers to this. And number one is just to answer questions and to help people out. And we're not doing it with the intention to get them as a client. We're doing it to genuinely help them, right? So for example, I'm in some different dads groups, right? There's a lot of dads out there who want to increase their energy. They want to be stronger. They want to lose weight. And they want to show up more fully for their families. So you go into a dad's group, you can search in the groups. So once you get in the group, there's a little magnifying glass. You can click on that, and then you can search certain keywords. So you could search things like weight loss, fitness, nutrition, running, weightlifting, right? Different keywords or phrases that would indicate that someone is posting about and looking for help within specifically the health domain. And again, this is a strategy that could be used not just for health coaches, but if you're like an insurance broker or whatever it may be, you could use this for any industry really. And then all you do is you find those posts and you go in and you answer the questions and you just answer them honestly and fully. And don't, I mean, I would err on the side of giving as much information and as much help as possible, because what you're going to do through that is you're going to build goodwill, right? So there's several groups now where my little badge next to my name is like top contributor. So when I comment on something, people, not only is my comment prioritized on different posts, but also people are going to see that I contribute regularly. And it's going to build preeminence within that group. It's going to build trust. And then from there, my goal when it comes to doing this prospecting in Facebook groups is just to get people to become my friend, my Facebook friend, right? Because ultimately, that's a good open line of contact. Like if you get to the point where you can send a friend request, they accept it, then you can start a conversation. And again, we're doing this because we want to build trust. We want to build connection and build a relationship with whoever it is that needs support. And we want to help them as much as possible, whether they become a client or not. You're going to be building your goodwill and the preeminence by doing that. So that's kind of that's the base level of it. Now, in those groups as well, I think having value posts, right? So if you go into a group and you notice a lot of people are asking about, I don't know, different diets, right? Like, 10 people recently have asked, like, should I try keto? If it's something that you have some knowledge or expertise on, making a post sharing your perspectives, even better would be sharing if you've worked with people who have done similar things and they've seen different types of results, and just giving kind of both anecdotal as well as maybe evidence-based perceptions on what can or can't or doesn't work. When you're showing within a group that you know what you're talking about, you know what you're doing, again, people are going to gravitate towards you and see you as, again, you're going to have preeminence and they're going to see you as an expert in your field. So I think that's elsewhere in your book as well, as establishing that preeminence, but this is just a different form of doing it. And with Facebook, it's technically free, right? It's not running Facebook ads. I will say there's a little bit more labor that goes into it, but I think when I look at doing this Facebook group prospecting method, it's been so successful for me because one, I'm pinpointing high quality leads, like people who are out in the world already asking for help. So I'm not just trying to cast a wide net, I'm casting a smaller net, but the people who I'm potentially going to draw in are obviously going to be looking for services that I could share with them to help them change their life, right? As well as with the Facebook group strategy, you get to a point where you're having the conversation. So typically it starts with you're answering questions, you're helping them out, you can create some value posts, you get friends, you get friend requests, and then you start conversations in the DMs. And then what I'll do too is on my own personal Facebook page, then I just try and post different things, sometimes related to health and wellness, sometimes just life in general. But really, Facebook is a great place to just let your own personality shine through. For example, like I just started watching the series Game of Thrones like 5 days ago, and I shared about that. And a lot of people who, again, I'm friends with from Facebook groups are seeing like, oh, this guy is a real person, right? He's not just out here, making friends with random strangers trying to sell stuff, but he's a real person sharing about his life. So that was a little non-linear, kind of a tangent. Yeah, curious thoughts on what I just shared.
Oh, I'm curious that you haven't seen Game of Thrones, and it's 2024.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't watch Omar. I don't watch TV. Like I've never watched the TV series through. And long story short, on Friday night, Jess and I were gonna watch a movie, which usually just means I fall asleep in 15 minutes. But she's like, let's start this series because she's seen it a couple times, and now I'm hooked. Anyway, but
And
yeah,
I don't want the audience to just say, "What the hell?" We want to know about the Facebook group, but we're
yeah.
talking about the original Game of Thrones, not the House of Dragons.
No, the like season one, episode one, where it starts with I think White Walkers in the woods murdering
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
legit Game of Thrones.
Okay, cool. You're gonna love it. You may be a little disappointed, but it's still, even with the little disappointment, still probably the best series I've ever seen, and I've seen many. But onto the business stuff. But
Yes, for sure.
I it's funny because, and again, it's probably something that is just more in my thought process, and I know some health coaches have echoed this as well. Um, I shared this word infiltrate with you.
Yeah.
And I kind of think that some of this could be seen as an infiltration on the outside, but how do you navigate that? I know that it's a mindset, and you're just really,
Mhm.
like, again, going out there and providing great information for people. Do you ever feel like it is sort of pitchy, or does anybody ever call you out on that kind of tactic?
Yeah, so from bottom to top, yes. If you make value posts, you will usually get a couple people who are like, I just checked out this guy's profile. He's a health coach. He's just trying to sell stuff. And I thankfully have done a lot of work on my own mindset with this. And
Mhm.
yes, I am a health coach. I want to help people. It is a marketing tactic that I'm using. But I also know that what I do as a health coach legitimately changes lives, not just for the people who I work with directly, but for their families, for their colleagues, for everyone that they associate with. So I know that everything that I'm doing, yes, it might seem like I'm infiltrating Facebook groups, and to an extent, I would say I probably am doing that, but I know that I'm genuinely helping people. And I care more about helping people be at their highest level frequency, as I call it, helping people be the healthiest versions of themselves than getting some, hate comments or having people try and call me out, right? I
Mhm.
will say with Facebook groups as well, a lot of them have rules like no self promotion, no spam, things like that. So you're not going in and saying, hey, I'm a health coach. I have this 6 month inspired well-being program. It's $6,000. Do you want to sign up? Like you're never making posts like that. I'm
Mhm.
actually big on like, you give away and build goodwill in public, and then you sell in private, whether it's in the direct messages or booking calls. But I think that the big thing with that, the barrier there would be like, yeah, do I feel like I'm, just actively out there marketing and trying to sell? Like on the back end, eventually that is going to happen, but just go into it with the mindset of knowing that there's a lot of people out there who are struggling, who need help, right? Like if we look at obesity numbers in the United States, the last numbers, I think from 2022 or 2023, we're at about 44% of individuals are obese, estimated to be over 50% by 2030. And we know that this is a huge issue, not just for individuals, but for societal health in general and for even the economy, right? So
Mhm.
if you go into it with the mindset and the knowing that what you do is genuinely helping people, you know that ultimately you're going to create a better world, not just for them, but for everyone else by sharing your services with the world. It makes it easy because I go in there, again, the intention isn't always to sell. It really can't. If your intention is just to try and make money, your head's in the wrong space. Your intention is to be there to serve. Your intention is to be there to genuinely help people. And I will say, I've even had people who I've connected with, and then so the next step of this, if you think about it like a funnel, right? If I get people from Facebook group to become my friend, we're direct messaging. I have a free course that I have that I will offer to people if they're not ready to book a discovery call. And I've had people who will go through my free course, they'll use my free workout programs and they'll use those things and they'll start to make change and they'll be like, dude, thank you so much for doing this. Like, this is so helpful. And then you're building again goodwill and preeminence. And there's a good chance where that person is going to come across someone else who's going to need help. Who are they going to think of, right? When people go out and they're bettering themselves, whether they've worked with you or not, if they've seen benefits and results from what you've shared with them, most likely you're going to be top of mind and they'll continue to share you word of mouth with other people. So I've seen that as well. I mean, I've had a lot of people who have lost weight and they've never even worked with me. They've just gone through some of my free resources, right? So not everyone's able to do that. That's why health coaching is super important, because a lot of times people need more support and structure to make it happen. And for every person who you're able to impact in a positive way, again, I just see it as energy in the universe. You're putting good out there and good is going to come back to you. So that's my perspective on it. It is a mindset thing and you will get called out by it. It happens every time I make a value post in a group. Someone's like, this guy's just trying to sell stuff. And then I was polite to them and be like, yeah, I own a business. This is how I make my money. And I also see a lot of great results. And at the same time, I'm offering you a lot of value for free here. So, take it or leave it for what it is. I kind of, yeah, I've had more than a handful of people who have, I don't know. I don't know if the word haters is the right word, but there are people out there who, when they see that you're doing good, and again, that speaks more about them than it does for you. I
Yeah,
think your mindset and intention just has to be on genuinely helping people however you can, whether that's for free or if they sign up with you. That's what it's all about. So does that answer your question?
oh yeah, no, you said it, but haters gonna hate, so that's just the way it goes. That's not
Without a doubt, man.
not a thing. So you did mention like the free courses that you have given out. I was just curious, in the comment section, do you add anything except just answering the questions, or is like that offering of the free course and such is like
Yeah,
the back end and the DM kind of thing, or I'm just curious
great.
what it looks like up front.
Yep, great question. So I approach this as well. There's another mind frame thing here as commodities versus entity. So in my paid 6 month program, I have a full course, which is, the whole 6 month program is an entity that includes coaching sessions, online personal training, online course, group calls, and one-to-one messaging. So all of those are different commodities within an entity. So my Inspire Blueprint, I call it, which is my free course, is just a smaller entity version of that big one. So within that Inspire Blueprint, I have 3 different free workout programs. I have a easy recipes guide, basically a cookbook that I created. All of the videos for my Inspired Blueprint are actually unlisted on YouTube. So if someone has a specific question, like, hey guys, I'm getting back into health and fitness. I'm curious, what are your best easy like meal prep recipes? I will drop a comment and say, hey, I have this free easy recipes guide. There's 24 different recipes. They're all dairy-free, gluten-free, all healthy, high in protein, high in fiber. And then I'll just put the link to the Google Doc or the PDF that I have uploaded on Google Drive for free. And I've had a lot of people who have come back and say like, oh, this is awesome. And then uh, I'll either post it directly or I'll say, hey, usually what I do is I'll say, hey, I have this free resource. Send me a message if you want it. And it's funny because it'll be on one person's post and then like 3 other people will be like, hey, I saw your comment in this group. Can I get your free easy recipes guide? There's different strategies from there. You can ask them like, hey, what's your best email? I'll share it with you. Or if, again, in the true nature of just wanting to help people, you can just send them the direct link. But that usually sparks a conversation, right? So I take different pieces. For example, I'm in another group where it's more focused on people who are getting into weightlifting. So people will always be like, what are you doing for routines? And I'll say in a comment like, hey, I've got 3 different workout programs. One is all at home total body. One is just a pair of dumbbells. And one is for a total gym. Send me a message if you want any of those programs. They message me and then I send them access to that and then they can use it as they like. So usually when they're reaching out via message, I'll send them the thing directly. And then you start a conversation like, hey, I hope this helps you. By the way, what are your goals? What are you looking to achieve when it comes to your health, your fitness, your well-being? So back to the bigger picture, right? That entity course, when they sign up for the course, they get everything all in one in a linear fashion. And if people are asking for certain pieces of that course, I'll give those away for free as a way to start a conversation. Then again, eventually be like, hey, I know you like this workout program. Did you know I have this entire free course? What's your email and I can get you access to it. So does that answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's what I'm envisioning. So one of the things that obviously you use Facebook, but are there any other platforms that you've dabbled in or have heard about that maybe a health coach would feel more comfortable on or just had more familiarity with? Just curious.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I have tried it on LinkedIn. LinkedIn groups are interesting. The engagement is far less. LinkedIn is more proper feed focused rather than pushing groups. And I haven't seen the results in LinkedIn, so I haven't really put a lot of time and effort into it.
Mhm.
I will say I do something similar with Instagram. Obviously, it's not within groups, but it's again, if people are following different types of fitness accounts or holistic health accounts, whatever it may be, and you see people asking questions in other people's posts, like in the comments, just answer them and give them a follow, maybe send them a message or just engage with their profile. And again, just trying to start conversations. I've done it primarily through Facebook and Instagram. I will say Facebook has definitely been the most fruitful just because of the way that they promote groups. It really, I guess it's created more of a streamline for me. Instagram, it's more like, okay, it goes into direct messages. A lot of times if you message someone they don't follow you, it goes into like the box that never or the inbox that no one ever checks, right? So I've seen some success with that. For me, yeah, it's definitely mostly been Facebook. I haven't done a lot with, I mean, I've posted a lot on TikTok. I haven't really found a strategy that works. That's more just, I guess, fun stuff.
Mhm.
But that's definitely been the big one. I will say as well, I have been more regular posting on YouTube, like long form content, including my podcast. And
Mhm.
in there, I'll post the direct link to get my free course. So people often sign up for my free course through that. But long-winded answer and way to say that Facebook has definitely 100% been the best place for me. LinkedIn, not so much. Instagram, a little bit different. And that's kind of my experience. So,
Gotcha. So I've heard good things about Quora and
oh, yeah.
Reddit.
Yes. And again, those are two that I mean, I don't really even, I don't have the
Okay.
apps. I don't really go on those.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll Google search something and like a Reddit thread comes up, but
Yeah,
as
that's
for
what I've
actual,
noticed.
yeah, marketing on there, that's a whole new world that, maybe I need to step into that a little more too.
Yeah, it was interesting because, like you said, I'll see them come up on a Google search, and people, they'll post a question, and people start answering it, and then you start kind of saying, "Okay, this guy's I've seen him before," and you kind of
Hmm.
like fall into that rabbit hole with that. So yeah, okay, but yeah, as far as platforms, I get what you're working with right now. So Facebook is definitely the way to go.
Hmm.
How much time are we talking here? Like what are we? What's the time commitment?
Yep. So, I mean, the beauty of it is that it maybe over the span of a week, it's a couple hours, 2 to 4 hours. It really depends if you're making posts or not, if you're searching posts. Obviously, there is something to be said too about being attentive to the messages and being prompt with people. The last thing you want to do is start a really great conversation with someone and then ghost them for 5 days, right? Because that's going to show that maybe you're not as serious as they anticipated you were about helping them out. I would say no more than 5 hours per week.
Hmm.
And again, it's something where, for me at least, I've created my schedule in a way where I time block my mornings.
Hmm.
So my mornings are focused on content creation, on actual like workout programming for clients, and then doing marketing activities, whether that's creating content, like recording videos, creating infographics, and or doing the direct outreach on Facebook or Instagram mostly. Um, and then it's, I got my phone on me. I'm very attentive, especially to when there's prospects and people who I know would be a good fit for my program to getting back to them as soon as possible. Actually, right after our call, I'm in the middle of a conversation with someone right now on Facebook. So after our call, I'm definitely going to reply to him. But it's not super time and it doesn't take a ton of time. It can be spread out throughout the day. It's not like, okay, I need a 4 hour chunk to do this. It can be as simple as, make a post or reply to 3 posts, start some conversations, and then just keeping them going throughout the day. And I will say, if you notice a conversation falls off, have a system for yourself. So for me, if I have a prospect who I know would be they'd be a good candidate for my program, and they haven't responded to me in 2 to 3 days, I'll just reach back out and say, hey, hope the week's going well. What's up this weekend? Or, what's one thing that's gone well for you this week? Right. So keeping conversations going with open-ended questions is super important. Not just letting them say yes or no, but like legitimately, again, we're learning about their lives. We're learning about their struggles as well as their goals. We're genuinely forming real conversations and real connections with people and forming trust through that. So, but yeah, it's something that from the cost here is definitely the labor you put in. Like you got to be attentive to messages. You have to go out and spark those conversations, spark those the best case scenarios to get people to send you a friend request or even sending friend requests to others. So yeah, I think it's a couple hours a week, but again, from a cost perspective, money wise, technically it's free. I mean, we got to pay for our Wi-Fi and our phone bills and everything, but beyond that, it's just the time that you put in. And I think too, like you can get to a point where you can have some scripts set up, not necessarily always copy pasting, but at least knowing how the conversation should go in your perspective and when is the right time to introduce like what you do, if it's the right time to introduce, say, a lead magnet or a free course that'll get you their email so they're on your list. And I think for me, it all does come back to getting people onto my email list. That's such an important thing. I think as especially solopreneurs in the health space, like having an email list where we can do leveraged one-to-one communication is so key. So if you factor that time in as well, like emailing your list a couple times a week, like you're looking at probably 5 hours a week, I would say.
Okay. No, that's
Yeah,
that's reasonable. And again, like you're responding to questions and things that you're passionate about. So some of it is just like it's fun. Right? It's not,
it is.
so it's not like a heavy burden on you as far as coming up with the answers or anything that's in your wheelhouse. You're just sharing. Just if I was to ask you a health related question right now, you'll just spit it out in a fraction of a second. So
For
I
sure.
get that. So I hope that you don't mind where I'm going to go with this next question because I think this was the most brilliant part of your entire strategy, and you kind of touched on it about collecting email addresses, making these touch points,
Mhm.
becoming the expert in these fields, but you also run challenges. And
Yes.
how does this all lead to these challenges? Because I found this the most fascinating part of the strategy, and I think
Yeah.
that that's where all the gold is.
Love it. Yeah. So I've been doing challenges. I think this is my fourth year of doing, I did three one year and that was a little too much, but I do two challenges a year, typically a spring health challenge and a healthy holidays challenge. And again, that's something where again, another layer to this is anytime I am connecting with a potential prospect on Facebook, I have a spreadsheet where I have their profile, their name, our last point of contact, and then I have it all, it's all in a spreadsheet. There's like, I think 700 people in this spreadsheet. So then when I run a challenge, I'll go back and whether if I'm in conversation with them or if it's been a couple weeks or even months, I'll let them know like, hey, what's new? I hope things are going well. Usually starting by asking open-ended questions like what's new in your life? How are things go? If they've gotten some of your free resources, like how is the fitness going? How is your nutrition doing? Right. And then say, oh, by the way, I'm running this challenge. It's a 28-day or 30-day challenge. My spring health challenge is just a low barrier. It's usually $29. And then the healthy holidays challenge, it's free, but I ask people to make a donation to a charity of their choice just so they have some skin in the game. We know that that's important as well. Um, and then I just do typically direct reach outs. I try to get anywhere from 30 to 50 people in a challenge. Right now, my conversion rate with challenges is right about 36%. So when I get people into the challenge, again, this is a whole different layer, but it's like a mini version of my 6 month program where they get a couple group calls. Sometimes I do a one-to-one call included. Sometimes I don't. They get access to my fitness app. They get access to that Inspired Blueprint, the course, and they get a feel for what it's like to work with me. And then I have email sequences built out on the back end, letting them know like, hey, at the start of the challenge in the first group call, I say there's going to be a gift at the end of the challenge. The gift is going to be the option to work with me. And usually it's for a discount. It's for about a 20% discount on one of my programs, right? I think it's really important to let people know up front, like, I am going to offer the opportunity for you to work with me. So I'm going to sell to you at the end. And if they already know that that's going to come, it builds a lot of trust rather than them being blindsided at the end. So, yeah, the challenges are definitely something I've continued to refine. I mean, it started with just unlisted workout videos and spreadsheets and like Google Docs to now obviously having different, tech and platforms and softwares that kind of streamlines a lot of it. But the goal is just to get people in. Again, it takes that, you're forming a connection with people on Facebook, for example, in the DMs. But then once you actually get to the point where you're having, Zoom calls where you can see their face, they can hear your voice, it continues to build trust with them, right? I've had multiple people who have been, from Facebook groups, friends with me for 2 years, and finally they do one of my challenges, and then they become a client after that. So, yeah, that's definitely, sometimes they skip the challenge step and they go right into being, part of my 6 month program. And, or sometimes the challenge is usually, it's like a step in being like, oh, this is what this guy does, right? Because you and I know, and a lot of the listeners know, that health coaching is different than just personal training, different than working with nutritionists, right? There's a lot of nuance to it, and it's more personalized, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually get a feel of, okay, this is what I actually do as a board certified health coach. This is how it looks. This is how we co-create things. And, you're the one guiding the way. And they get a really good feel for it. And I always let them know, like, hey, a month is a good amount of time. You can make some progress. And, if your goal is to lose 100 pounds, we know it's going to take more than a month. So I want to, because you're an action taker, because you signed up for the challenge, I'm offering you the gift of discounted pricing on my Inspired Wellbeing program. And like I said, 35% conversion. So, if I can get 50 people in, that's usually about 15 people signing up, which is a good number, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's a lot to the challenges, I would say. But it is a nice way to, again, it's like they step through, the first door, and then they're like, okay, I see who you are. I kind of understand what you do. And then they go through the next turn, like, oh, this is what you really do. This is how you actually take an individualized approach to helping me accomplish my goals. It's not just, a bunch of PDFs and meal plans, right? So I hope that answers your question.
No, no,
That could be a whole podcast episode on how to run challenges.
no, listen, you've done challenges, you do retreats. There's a lot of layers to your
Oh,
business. Like I said, I'm
yeah,
so proud of what you've done since I've met you, and like I said, you're a great resource for all these different things. But I wanted to get that challenge out there just so health coaches could see like how much of this front end investing with the time converts to something not only throughout the year that you're collecting these individuals and they might be interested in your programs just in March, like
hmm,
they're getting two entry points at a big scale. And
hmm,
that could have sustained your business alone. So
yep,
so that's why I wanted to bring that up just to share that tidbit to the audience. But
yeah,
Mike, you are the man. I'm so happy that you were sharing this, and I'm so proud to feature you in this book as well to just kind of give health coach is another step in that step one perspective on how to get clients from scratch. Because I know it's hard just getting out there and thinking, wow, I don't have anything cooking. And this is a truly magnificent way for them to utilize what they have and just their knowledge base to get clients in the door. So I thank you for that.
for
So
sure.
yeah.
Appreciate you, Omar. If I can I share one more thing too?
Oh, please. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is for social media as a whole. A lot of times we get stuck in the vanity metrics and being like, oh, I made this post I thought was great and I only got 4 likes. Um, Whatever engagement you get, there's usually 10 times, at least 10 times more people who see it. And you never know when you put something out there that's going to completely change someone's perspective. It's going to completely change the trajectory of not only their day, but maybe their life. So yeah, just don't be scared to get out there and don't be scared to have real conversations with people. I think, again, if you don't go out and share what you do, why you do it, why you're passionate about it, your people are never going to know like the gifts that you have to offer. So yeah, there's definitely some mindset things there that can be overcome, but ultimately know that just continuing to show up and sharing and providing value from the sake of truly wanting to help people, you're going to be putting that energy into the universe that, like I said earlier, is going to reciprocate back to you. So that's what I got.
Amen to that. No, that's a very good point. I always make reference to even when we're doing like our podcast and say you don't see as many reviews as you'd imagine. I mean, it's my hero, Sean Croxton, right? Is like again, I don't know if there's anybody who I look up to more than him. And I listened to the podcast for probably 6 or 7 years, and I never left him a review. Like
Exactly.
it's like but like I said, by far his biggest, one of his biggest fans, without a doubt. But it's something that like some people just don't engage in that way, and I never knew any better at that time. I wasn't in a business owner mindset that I could have appreciated how much my review would have helped his business, and that was a token of appreciation. I just sometimes you just go about your business and not really, you just observe, you enjoy content, you may not like anything. It's just kind of everyone's different.
For sure. Without a doubt. So much truth there.
Yes, sir. So, Mike, appreciate it again. Have a good rest of your day.
Appreciate you, Omar. Thanks again.
Nice.
Hope you enjoyed listening to today's episode of the Health Coach Academy podcast. If you did, jump over to iTunes and leave a rating and or review. It goes a long way in helping get this message out to our fellow health coaches and people in our industry. Also, if you can, jump over to my website, omarcumberbatch.com, where I give out a lot of freebies, including my 5-day sugar challenge for people who are having issues with sugar. And also for health coaches, I have the book, Hidden. It's the 6 not so obvious ways to get your clients unstuck. Have a great day.